Guess who's coming to sauna? Hekilunta. Guess who's coming to sauna? Hekilunta.
Hello, hello, everybody, to another live edition of the Upper Bench Sauna Podcast. As always, I'm joined here with Risto and Eero. Risto, good evening, sir. How are you?
Hi, it's good to see you.
Good.
Doing pretty good here. Unseasonably warm in Minnesota, but that's fine.
Hey, that's all right. We always talk about the joys of getting out of a sauna and into the high temps and making it feel a little bit cooler.
Oh yeah.
Eero, what's it doing up there in the Northeast?
It's raining right now here, but it's been a great week, and I actually did some sauna stuff this weekend as well. I didn't enter a hot sauna, but I went to see some saunas, and but I was a wedding at the Catskills Mountains, so it's been great.
Oh, awesome. I know we were talking about you going up there. Now, did you get a chance to see the smoke sauna?
I did. I actually did, yeah, and it was super interesting. You know, it's kind of a genius kind of way to build a sauna, and lots of air. So there's no ventilation issues in that sauna, none whatsoever.
Awesome.
It's like Risto, you've seen that sauna as well, right?
Yeah, and I've sauned in it. So
Oh, you did? Okay.
yeah. Our family went out when we lived in Michigan. We drove out to the East Coast and we visited Rudd and got to sauna with him.
Very very convincing, extremely convincing. Good stuff.
And so I know we've been on a little bit of a hiatus as of late. You know, you probably haven't seen us in a couple of weeks, but it's been a busy summer here for all of us. I know, Eero, you've been traveling around, spreading the good word of sauna. Now, how many speaking events do you have under your belt now?
I have, depending on how you count, I have 8, or 9. But yeah, we'll see when the year comes to an end. I think I'm gonna be clocking maybe 12 or something. So there's been a speech once a month somewhere, and it's been super enjoyable. Obviously, I've loved it.
Good. Risto, what have you guys been keeping yourself busy with?
Oh, not too much. Sounded at our friend Eric's. I think I can't remember if you guys ever saw the final build. The taller sauna.
Yeah, where you went up a few steps.
Yeah, did we get the walkthrough of that one?
Yeah, that one was really cool. That one's for those listening along. This was one where it was almost two. I mean, what would you say, Risto? Is that thing about 15, 16 feet tall?
Yeah, on the outside in the
Yeah.
hot room. I think the hot room's in the 9 to 10 range.
Yeah, and then you went up a small like ladder almost to a platform.
Yep. So I sounded there the other night. So that was
Excellent.
good. Yeah, there were 4 of us there. So that's always a good time. And then I had bought a sauna kit that was a pretty good price. It's an old one of the old kits from either Finland or Sweden. That's I think spruce. And that they interlock, so it's solid wood walls. And
Okay.
it used to belong to the Risinen family over in Cokato, and someone had bought the grandparents' farm, I think, and they were selling the kit. So I picked that up for a pretty good price, and it's in my garage, but I don't think it's gonna work for us, so I'm gonna be putting it on the market.
Okay. Yeah, maybe spruce it up a little bit, or see if custom installation. You can always make a couple of bucks there too.
Well, it's got that old heater. Have you seen that one? I'm trying to remember what it's called. Is it the Sauna Tontu or something?
Oh,
It
yep.
looks like a trash can kind of, or an R2D2.
Yeah, R2D2, and it's got a little kind of a flip top, and then it's more to kind of keep that and retain that heat long term, and then flip it open when you want to use it. I think the old slogan was kind of anytime heat, or something along those lines.
But it's like 200 pounds of rocks. Have you ever seen one in person?
Yes, I have. Yeah, there's one at the factory in Cokato.
I was surprised by how large it was.
Yeah.
Like I was expecting like R2D2 size, but it's it's double, triple that at least.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think really those things were the grandfather of the tower heaters. What they did was they just created a mesh outside on those things because really they had the long elements already. And they were stacking rocks pretty tall. So if you just kind of made that thing breathe a little bit more, you had yourself a rock tower heater.
Yep.
It's kind of a controversial technology. Some people love it, some don't that much because it is kind of, it's like what I bumped into during my travels. It's interesting that the humidity is really an issue with some people in some saunas in the U.S. particularly, and these ready heat flip open things. You still have the humidity inside, so actually it doesn't work that way. You have to burn that humidity away in order to get a good sauna session. So you still have to wait when you open the lid.
Yeah, that's my understanding is that it's kind of ready to go, but you kind of kick it into a little higher gear, open the lid up, and it will raise the room temp, and like you said, lower the.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, to Finn's question, we're talking about an electric heater. This is really just something that was used to preserve and kind of keep those rocks, a little bit up to temp. But then, yeah, like we said, you still need to warm up that room. So you're popping the lid open, you're letting it run for a while. You probably turned it up where it's pumping out a little bit more heat. But again, the rationale was if your rocks are a little bit warmer, it's not going to take so long to warm them up to get up to a good temp to generate some good steam. But again, yeah, we still like a warm room to start.
Yeah, it's only 6 kilowatts, so I think it's landing you on the less hot and dry side. It's on the lower side, maybe the 150 to 170 range with a lot of steam.
Yeah.
And so that it's interesting. A lot of people you get this idea that like once you get into sauna, the authentic sauna is blazing hot, but I don't think it always is.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I know plenty of guys that are, running 160, 170, lots of steam. Myself, I'm probably more on the other side of it, a little bit warmer, a little bit less steam just because I don't have a drain. So do have to be a little bit more sparing with the water. But I enjoy a little bit more intense heat. I've kind of become acclimated, after a couple of years here. Yeah, I'm definitely looking for that 190 to 200 now. Now,
Right.
Eero, what's on the horizon here? You were talking, last time we spoke a little bit about your family sauna in Finland, having to do some repairs on that, maybe making it just a standard wood burning sauna going forward. But yeah, tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no, it was when my father-in-law became a little older, and he wanted to have things like go a little smoother for him. He decided to not replace the smoke heater, but he put in a wood burner. So it's a hybrid. It's got a smoke heater and it's got the wood burning heater, and I'm not naming any brands here, but the wood burning heater is about 5 years old, and I have to replace that already. I can see through, so it's gonna go. But I think that I'm gonna keep the basic setup still. So it's on a nice beautiful Saturday, I'm gonna go through the 4 hours or whatever it takes, for that smoke sauna to get hot. But but anyway, so what I will actually what I have to do, it's just like the sauna in itself is not completely leveled. So might be in the next couple of years, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna replace the floor, level the structure, and then put both a new smoke heater and a wood burning heater. So I got it's got some people in the U.S. particularly favor that you have an electric heater and you have a wood burning heater. So my electric would be the wood burning, and then the long haul thing, the maximum experience, the best experience comes from obviously from the smoke heater. So I would have both. That's what I'm thinking about right now. It's kind of a new thing. Yeah, my wife inherited the place, and we were not expecting that to happen. But anyway, so it's kind of it's not that bad. What I'm gonna do though is we have the wood burning heater has those those water tanks that are like like attached to the smokestack kind of a thing, that setup. And I can't stand that boiling water bubbling thing. So I I will have that replaced somehow. I need the hot water. So that's gonna but not the bubbling thing. It takes part of my experience away. My enjoyment, lacks a little when I hear that bubbly sound.
No,
Yeah, no,
that's
makes sense.
there's two camps on that one. Because many of the saunas in the UP, almost not all of them, but a lot of them have that hot water heater, and I've heard people express that they enjoy the sound of that. I don't know if it's kind of like nostalgic or it tells you that the sauna's ready, something good is coming. But I'm in the camp of I like it quieter. It can be kind of loud with that kind of that incessant bubbling sound.
Yeah,
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 yeah. I think I'd probably be more on the silent camp myself, or trying to rig up. I definitely enjoy hot water, while I'm in there if it's available to be thrown around. But maybe making like a copper, um, tubing kind of a thing where you're circulating water in a separate tank. Maybe you're running that copper coil through your heater or around your smokestack, where you can still generate warm water, but at a little bit less intense rate.
Well, they do that, and it still boils.
Still boils.
Yeah, because it's pretty common with that, like you said, with the copper tubing, and then through I think a water jacket or something in the stove, and
Mhm.
then oftentimes like a keg, it'll run to a keg and then circulate, but it'll
Yeah,
it'll still eventually boil.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And with how hot I'm running a stove, I can't imagine.
yeah, yeah. But there's there's water boiling and then there's water boiling because it's like this thing is up in the air and it's like next to your ear almost. So it's like when you have like well we also have like next to the smoke heater we have the same copper circulating thing. And it's sort of like it's not it's more mellow in a way, but yeah, but the problem still exists. And it has to be. I think I've seen somewhere heaters where you can like uh you know take that like a tiny so you can actually move that water tank a little so it if you don't want it to touch to get hotter you can like remove it a little so it's not in the direct contact with the smokestack or whatever part of heater there is. But I don't know. I have to do my research on that when the time comes.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if you could dial down the circulation just a little bit so it doesn't cut it off totally, but either that or maybe it would just heat up that small amount faster. I'm not sure. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't be replacing the water, fast enough so that it wouldn't boil. That's not happening. If so, you would have that would be the only thing you would be doing is pouring cold water in and hot water out. Well, yeah, no, but it's a very positive project, and we haven't used the smoke sauna part in a couple of years because of the work that has to be done to the heater, but it's a great sauna by a river, and I think I mentioned before that the summer has been gorgeous. I've been in Finland also a couple of times this summer, and so there's been a lot of swimming in the lakes and in the river and whatnot. So it's kind of, yeah, the sauna experience, of course, but like the water part, the cold part has been like extended this summer because it's been so heavenly. So
Awesome.
yeah, it's been a good year so far.
so so why can't you say which brand of heater it is? Now I want to know which heater.
It's well, it's like I don't know if it's some heaters made in Finland or no Finnish brand heaters sometimes are not that it's like the quality has been like some go to social media and check what they complain about.
But does it rhyme with Carvia?
It could
Good. Good. Okay.
Well, and I know, depending on, your brand, depending on where you're buying it from, it could be a name brand item that's made and produced, in a larger Eastern country. Where you may be looking for a made and finished product or a made in the US product. I would just, yeah, do your homework when you're buying stoves, because again, not all steel is created equally. And if you're buying cheap thin steel, again, Eero's probably lucky that he got, 5 years out of it. Where if you're using your stove regularly, there are some homemade DIY things that you can do to add a little bit of weight, in your burn chamber. Maybe adding some larger metal grating, getting that fire, not touching, that bottom plate so much. But again, adding any type of mass is going to take away some of that heat as well. So make sure you have a good rock pack around your wood stove, so you're not just heating up metal to the red point. You want to make sure that's getting dissipated out into your rocks.
And also one thing I have to add there, and this is with all due respect, and we had a very good understanding with my father-in-law, but I knew him well enough, so we went and bought the cheapest he could find. So it's like, what you see is what you get, basically. So you spend a little more, you get a little more.
Yep, absolutely. And we've talked about this at length too. If you've got a local stove maker, go check it out. They're going to be happy to work with you. There are a lot of metal shop guys around the country that are making cool wood stoves. And if you go to them and say, hey, you know what, I want to make a wood stove for my sauna. Maybe they've never done it, but show them a few pictures. I'm sure they'd love a challenge, especially if they can slap their name on it. And if it's something high quality, you're probably going to get a lot more bang from your buck, going to somebody local than trying to get these imported, spending a bunch of money on shipping and handling. Go support your local steel workers.
Yeah, I would love to see 3, 4, 5, 6 different well-designed, vetted blueprints for sauna stoves that you could just take to a local fabricator, just a welder for wood burning or whatever, and you could just say, hey, even shop it around. How much does it cost to get this model? And then even plans for the structure where you could take it to your local Amish and and say, hey, how much would it cost could you guys build me this? Something where you could have that stuff done more locally.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those resources are definitely going to be out there. You got to dig a little bit, but again, the proprietariness of a business, nobody wants to, put their blueprints out there, but you can easily, that there are some resources out there where guys have reverse engineered, some of the big brands. It's not rocket science. You're adding a little bit more of a baffle on the top to, try to reduce some of that, retain some of that heat. But if you're building the big old 3/8 inch steel, just workhorse, get it good and hot, put a bunch of rocks around it and go from there. Just try to get some sort of baffling where you can adjust the airflow, because if it's a rocket stove and it just runs 100% all the time, you might have issues. You're always going to want to dial it in a little bit depending on what kind of environment you're in. But and that's just good wood stove etiquette. Once you've got a good fire going, you don't need it to be running at 100% to get some really good heat.
Yeah, it is not complicated. It's kind of a space to burn something and a way to let it out. And like you said, just a little bit of baffle to help reburn some of those gases. And then, I'm trying to think of what are the most complicated ones. There's a few, like there's a Finnish brand. I'm trying to remember what the name is. Siduos or something. That one's kind of complicated in how it burns if you look at the picture of it. And then I've seen some Russian ones that are a little bit more complicated how they're set up. And then in the US, like Kuma, I think what they do is they're sealing your air intake, so it's pretty precise. So you can kind of dial that flow. And then they use then they use fire brick, I think, to raise the burn temperature so they can burn more of those gases.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of getting that masonry involved. Fire brick in a stove, or if you're building around it, it's just a good idea, I think. Anything where you're not exposing red hot metal to somebody to be able to bump into, you know. I think there's plenty of homegrown, just steel cubes out there that get red hot, and people love them. But if you can, take some of that energy and try to focus it a little bit elsewhere, you're going to maintain your metal, and then hopefully reduce the likelihood of just searing your kneecap.
Yeah, even just all masonry. We've talked about this
Mhm.
many times before, but maybe even you're not taking it to the local welder or fabricator. Instead, you're taking it to the local mason and just having them put like a metal grate in there and setting that up right. That would almost be better in a lot of ways.
Oh, if I had the structure and the size where I could, build a heater of any size, I think that'd be great. Doing a big half wall masonry heater, I mean, that to me would sound awesome.
As long as we're talking about the rocks getting hot, because it's just
Exactly.
like yeah, because it's just like we do see many heaters with limited rock mass and a lot of steel. The steel is getting hot, and it's a different kind of load then. But yeah, absolutely.
Almost like the what was that? I think it was the Ambassador Club when we were up in Toronto. They had that kind of that corner heater. It almost looked like a big stone bath, but there was plenty of rocks in there, creating just an immense amount of steam and heat. I think it was pretty cool. Doing something like that would be amazing.
Yeah, as soon as I walked
Right.
into that hot room, I was like, "Oh yeah, this feels
Yeah.
great."
Yeah, no, it was a good. That was probably as far as just walking into the room and saying, "Holy cow, this is the essence right here." We got real close there, I think, at Ambassador Club.
So, what do you guys? I'm gonna change this topic a little for a minute. So we have been sort of not we haven't been dragging our feet, but we've been considering for a very long time how to approach the public sauna scene now and how to assess a sauna. So what do you guys think would be the natural steps to assess and not like not to downplay any kind of like phenomenon that's going on right now. So what's a fair way to sort of uh visualize or assess a sauna, so with some keywords that people who are looking for a sauna experience know beforehand what kind of experience they're going to be uh, uh, you know waiting for when they approach this or come to that establishment. Do you understand what I'm trying to ask you?
Yeah. Shooting from the hip, the first thing I thought of was, if you've got keywords, those keywords are going to need definitions. What is a Finnish sauna? What is a Russian banya? And I think a lot of those are pretty commonplace. But then when you get down into the subcategories, does it allow for sauna bathing? And I would say that to me is I can take a bucket of water and put it right over my head and no one is going to say boo, right? And not all public saunas are going to have that checkbox because a lot of them are going to either be restrictive on water use or whatever it is. Maybe it's a guided thing where someone else is the doing the throwing of the water. And so if you don't have a bucket or anything like that, that's pretty much that line item's out. But does that not? It's still going to make potentially a good experience, a good public sauna experience. So you just don't have that ability. But if I was searching for something like public sauna plus sauna bathing, then I would know, hey, water is all the rage.
I'm thinking about the flow. kind of how how the process goes, because that's like you mentioned, like there are now facilities out there who offer this like a program kind of a thing. You're supposed to enter at certain hour and then they run you through. But like thinking about the thinking about the flow, what have the hot and cold and the rest, and how that flows, and in what time frame it flows. Would that build the the core of the assessment, would you say, maybe?
I mean, I think it's definitely part of it. Like we were having a conversation, and I always like quizzing you, Arrow, to kind of get your mindset. But we were having a conversation about a public sauna you visited, and so some of the questions I was asking you were, um, would you go back? Would you go back regularly? Um, because that honestly that answers a lot of questions for me. And then you said probably not. And so then I was just kind of asking you why not, to try and understand why not. And I think in this
Mhm.
particular case, there were a few reasons, right? Why it wouldn't be a regular for you. I'm trying to remember all what those reasons were.
I think
Oh,
one of them was time prohibitive. Didn't give you enough time to really enjoy it. I think it was an hour and a half,
yep.
or less than 2 hours. So I do think that those bits do have a lot to do with it. The heat, the cool, the relaxation, are you rehydrating, what are you doing in between rounds? Those all make for the experience. Um, and I think all of them can be definable as well. And they're all going to have, I don't know, certain levels of stars, or 1 out of 10, or whatever that is. Hey, the heat was a 8 out of 10. The cold plunge was a 10 out of 10. But they didn't have any refreshments, and there was no place to sit in between rounds. So boom, those two categories are going to be your onesie twosies. And hey, overall, yeah, I think it'd be great if I had a place to sit down. I can do whatever I want in the hot room, and the cold plunge is good. But yeah, is it somewhere I want to bring somebody for the first time? Is it somewhere I want to go back again? Is it somewhere where I would frequent? I think those are great questions too, because if it's something that, hey, I feel comfortable bringing a new person to, it's going to have a lot of those check boxes, and hopefully it's not getting a lot of them wrong. Um, and then too, if it's somewhere I enjoy, where I would be a regular, if you will, or I would go back, if I was in the area anytime. Those are definitely big check boxes for me. Like Risto, if I know Arrow's not going back to it, there's no point in me going.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's come from having sauna together and spoken together a lot. Um,
Mhm.
not just because Arrow's Finnish, I mean, maybe all Finns are kind of clued into to that. But I think, I mean, one key element is to be able to get hot enough to have a robust heat. That's for me, that is kind of a deal breaker. Whatever that threshold is, if I don't feel like I've really gotten thoroughly cooked,
Yeah.
then for me, I'm definitely not going back.
That no, that is a deal breaker. But no, let me ask this. So now I'm thinking, like, there's a lot of talk about public sounds now, obviously, because it's a fad, and this like people don't go to bars, alcohol consumption is down, so let's move that like that club scene to a bathhouse scene kind of a thing going on. But no, I've always said, and this is I guess partially true, but I always say that I prefer private saunas over public saunas. That's my that's my personal preference. But now the question is, like, do we always do sauna the same way? Like, I know my ingredients of a good sauna evening, and because I was partying at that wedding reception with so some of those dudes there were my sauna buddies, so we're talking about sauna a lot, and stuff. So are we like trying to kind of get that same experience that we are so used to, in our private homes? Do we like? Is that the reason why we are disappointed when we go to a public sauna because they don't offer you the same kind of experience? Is that something that I'm just so narrow-minded that I wanna get that experience that I'm so used to and not being open enough for new experiences? Could that be?
Yeah, I think it's multifaceted. I don't think there's just a simple answer for that. I mean, there are public saunas that scratch that itch, right? Like we were talking about some of the Toronto banyas. For me, that scratches that itch. You've got multiple rounds. You're talking 4 hours at least. Hot, cold, uh, places to rest, little restaurant inside. So it's definitely hitting all those things that we try and do here at our sauna. Um, but then there's also, like, we had Dr. Timmerman on, and he talked about his daily practice. Like, a daily sauna practice isn't obviously 4 hours and a giant meal. So I could also see a place for kind of just a more practical daily thing. Like if they charged you $60 a month and you could go most days, but it's quicker. I mean, that's kind of a different type of sauna, right? There's the social, dinner party, long and involved sauna, and then there could be, even in a public setting, just a shorter, more practical, get good heat and steam, maybe some cold, you know, 2 rounds, and I'm gone. It's more like the gym.
Yeah, utility.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that there's definitely a place for both, because I think I use my personal sauna in both ways. There's plenty of times where I know, hey, I've got an hour. After this thing gets ready, I've got an hour to in and out a few times and just get loose, maybe stretch out my back a little bit, reset for the day, and hit the ground running. And that's going to be a little bit more utility than, hey, my wife and I are going to go out there, might get the grill going, we're going to, have a couple of beers and, just kind of relax in between rounds and take our time. And that's a completely different sauna experience. Yeah, I don't have an objective.
Yeah, I don't
That's
I don't I don't know if anyone's doing the utility one though. I'm trying to think if I've really heard of that.
I was just gonna say, this is a very interesting topic now because it's like that reminds me like growing up in Finland, we had this our high school had this swimming hall, and it had a sauna, and so in that regard, sauna was not why sauna was not why they were there, but it was obviously super great that it was there, and I used it a lot back in the day. I was also working as a lifeguard when I was in high school there at the swim hall. But now that this is kind of interesting because it's like this utility kind of approach to sauna is something totally different, maybe I'm asking you, than like what the sauna scene is right now. So we are desperately trying to find these elements of social, social connect and spirituality, you know, glistening human bodies and whatnot, and multisensory, not multisensory in a way that we find multisensory. I'm talking about real sounds, whatever waves and gongs and whatnot, going on and so forth. So it's an interesting. So do we have like, and Sam, I absolutely agree with you. But now the question is that where do you what unless the utility is kind of a very lowered quality gym sauna kind of a thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't count that. That's again in the category. Most all of those hotel and gym ones are going to be in the category of I'm not getting cooked enough in this place. And there's going to be almost no ventilation. So, um the
Mm.
the closest I can think is maybe Embrace North in the Twin Cities. they have like a low monthly price. I mean, it's like, I don't know, 40, $50, something like that for unlimited sauna there. I mean,
Wow.
that's insane. And it's cold. The emphasis is cold plunge, hot room. I don't know that people really make much steam there. That's a little bit of an issue for me. And there's really no place to rest in between rounds. But I think it is kind of a very practical, thermal, they're there to kind of do their thing.
Mhm.
It's not really so much a scene, although you do connect with people. And then I can think of some of the other places like Hangda Sauna in Thunder Bay and Ely Steam Bath. I think both of them have like private rooms. So I don't know if people just get that for just a small, just a private, get my sauna in real quick and then head out. I'm not sure how that's used.
Unless we're talking about, we can widen the discussion about that utility to this, like, obviously now the cold plunges are a huge thing. So it's like, in a way, some people like the whole idea of sauna is the hot room cold plunge, hot room cold plunge, hot room cold plunge out. So it's just, if that's the way, then it is closer to the utility, and it's it's kind of a, they are taking care of their health maybe by that contrast, and that's what they want to do, maybe. I don't know.
I still think they should have place to rest and all of that. I think John Peterson talks about this a fair bit, about kind of like regulating your system a bit so that it's not so extreme between the two. And Eero, you've talked about this obviously. Like the rest is an important part of the whole process.
Yeah.
And yeah, and like I said, it's like I think we've used this before, this saying, but it's also kind of a thing, like, if you eat by yourself, you eat faster. If you eat with your friends, it takes longer. So it's like, the rest part sometimes is like, it's overemphasized, the rest part, because you are deep in conversations with people, so you tend to forget that you would go back to get some lurley in between.
Well, and I remember we talked about this long ago where, I was kind of not resting enough in between rounds. I would maybe, step out for 5 or 10 minutes, but really my heart rate never went all the way down, and I'm still perspiring. Where if you've got the time, people, take that time in between rounds to fully cool off, and jump back in. You get a fresh, brand new sauna every time. And to me, I definitely enjoy when I can rest longer in between rounds. My body just, it just feels better. I'm not rushing. My heart rate can kind of get back to normal and then elevate again in the hot room. You're going to get longer times in the hot room because you're not, just already kickstarted. So I definitely find myself in the hot room longer, but then I'm resting longer as well.
Yeah. Yeah, just kind of side note, I just remembered something. I told you I'd sauna this week, and it was good social. To tie into what we're talking about, I think we were outside of the hot room longer than we would have normally been because we were just talking, chatting, about like my favorite movie director, Kira Kurosawa, or whatever, just life things. And then so then someone's like, well, we better get back in, kind of hurry us along. But but I decided to sauna, I think it's like a 9:30 p.m. sauna, because I went disc golfing with my son earlier in the day. And being an old guy, like, I this is a crazy disc golf course. They had like a stone wall that you like threw up, like a kind of a climbing wall, but outside. And my disc was up there, so I had to climb up there, and I tweaked my back.
Oof.
And then
Yeah.
and I was climbing over a metal fence to get to the hole and got like a thigh cramp. So I was just like this old guy hobbling around. Um, so I think the sauna helped after that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. If I've had a hard day out in the yard, fire up that sauna, finish up cleaning up, doing what you're doing. Yeah, especially with my back, 2 hours on the riding lawnmower. If I don't sauna, oof, I get stiff.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm still thinking about that. And am I looking for wrong kind of pleasure, because I'm expecting the same thing happen all over and over again because I'm so used to it. Maybe I should be more open to. But yeah, it's like some people and I've I did a panel discussion in Duluth also, and it's just like there are many people out there still who are a little like so they're sauna bathing. So this basically they're not one and done folks, not at all, but it's good one round wash and you're done because the idea is to get clean.
Yeah. Yeah. And I definitely practice it different than that. It's more like the dinner party and social part of it. But I think that sauna bathing is super important because it's carrying along a cultural practice that's old, and it's important not to just let those things all die away because they were there for, they had a good practical purpose uh originally. But then also if it's done that way, it's going to be around 100 years from now. Whereas a lot of these places you're talking about, Arrow, maybe some of these other expressions that aren't as robust as what you're looking for, I don't know if those are going to be around 30, 40 years from now. Like a lot of the YMCA's closed their saunas.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It looks like that it's a means to something else, and folks like us, we are looking like the sauna is at the center, or the sauna experience is at the center, not the hot room, because that's the misunderstanding that's the whole point. While I'm traveling the country, I'm trying to explain that the hot room does not equal sauna. It's not the hot room, it's not the sauna, it's the whole thing. It's the whole thing that you do. That's the sauna.
Agreed. No, I absolutely. Well, and I hope that, people are understanding, that yes, there's no wrong way to sauna. As long as you're getting in there, you're trying. But again, are you doing it with some respect for our, cultural heritage? Are you doing it with some practices? Are you doing it with maybe just a little bit of thought of, hey, this practice has been around since well before me and will be well after. So, yeah, the one and done crowd, they're probably not thinking about it. Because I think if you take a step back to think about it, you do sauna a little bit better. You're taking your time. You're maybe, putting in a few rounds, and you're understanding a little bit more about, why were people doing this before screens? Why were people doing this before electricity? And getting clean, getting refreshed. You needed that, especially when you're working hard all day. And if that was your only semblance of peace and calm, you're gonna definitely cherish that a little bit differently than you would just your fancy hot tub or your fancy infrared cabin, where those are just a quick gratification. But the real sauna practice, I think, it just makes you take a step back. It makes you pause. And I think that's what people really need.
Well said.
Truly. Yes, yes, that's true. Yeah, no, interesting times ahead. Like I said, there will be. I'm gonna. What I know of is, and I will be in Chicago on October 19th, and we'll see if I get you guys there too. We're gonna talk about that. There will be also other sauna folks there. My buddy Pat from Texas is gonna be around.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. I can't wait to see him when I get out there.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's just like let's do something. Let's go to the Chicago Sweat Lodge and whatnot. We'll discuss this. Maybe it's gonna happen, maybe not, but we'll see.
Well, and I think I'm going to be up there regardless for a work convention, here the first week in September. So maybe I'll sneak out one night and go to the sweat.
Yeah, you definitely should. There's a few good options up there. Chicago Sweat Lodge, Sky Sauna, and then the other one, I'm trying to remember what it's called. Maybe Chicago Bathhouse. They changed their name. Um, but where you're going, they've got a good banya. So I look forward to hearing the report of what that's like. And then, are you already brainstorming on another build?
Yeah, we're so, to let the cat out of the bag. Yeah, my wife and I, yeah, we're moving out to Texas here in the next couple months, and yeah, we're looking at houses. I definitely want an outbuilding or a shop or something. I don't know if I'll do an indoor or outdoor build, but I know I've been throwing around that container build. I don't know if I can convince my wife to let me put a container permanently in the backyard, but if we're out in the country, who knows? Maybe I can camouflage it, make it look cool. But definitely definitely going wood burning again. Whoever I gotta beg, borrow, and steal from, I'll make sure it happens. But really looking forward to a new build where I'm really gonna focus on making sure that 4 people can really be comfortable and engage. Not, maybe it is I think I'm thinking about doing a two tiered, with maybe a stove more central, where you could sit across from each other. I think doing something like that with 2 large benches, and then maybe a more centrally located heater. I think that's going to be more the design aesthetic that I'm going to be going for in this next build. But who knows? If all of a sudden we get an old farmstead with a barn or something like that, who knows? Maybe I'll build into a pre-existing structure. But yeah, looking forward to it, guys. I'll make sure that any of our travels, we start getting some more pictures out to you guys. We'll post them on all of our social medias, and if there is stuff that you want to see or places that you want us to go and check out, maybe you're a little bit unsure of a location or a public sauna, reach out to us. We'll tap our network and see who we can get out there. If we haven't been out there ourselves, we'll give you some recommendations. But Eero, Risto, any parting thoughts for the audience tonight?
Well, it's like we're getting closer to the fall, so it's not that it would have been that bad. Like I said, at the start. So it's just been a great summer, sauna summer this year, and it's gonna be a great sauna fall this year as well. And I'm actually quite hopeful right now because I've had, obviously, when I travel, I meet a lot of people and we end up talking about sauna. The sauna scene is not that bad, mostly, but that I thought. And like I said, it's just like, we have the public sauna, that's one part of it, but then we have the private saunas, and there are many good private saunas out there. So it's just, obviously, they don't make a whole lot of noise because they don't want to invite other people there. But anyway, so we are on the right track right now. We need to bang that gong, make more noise about the real sound experience. But life is good.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. There's probably hundreds of excellent saunas in North America.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and
Okay.
especially up your way, Risto. All the Midwest has some great ones with all the Finnish culture. But again, any major metropolitan area nowadays is getting up there. You'll find somebody. It may be Finnish, it may be Russian, it may be Estonian. Who knows? Might be even Swedish. But there's plenty of stuff out there. We've seen in the comments here. There's a lot of different ways. People are enjoying sauna nowadays, from the good, the bad, the ugly. It sounds like Finn has got a location that has infrared saunas with bikes, so much more of an exercise crowd. I've seen plenty of those chains pop up, especially down here in the southeast, Atlanta, Charlotte. They've got these, infrared workout studios, and they just really tote, hey, you're warm, you're burning more calories. We get it. You're sweaty and gross. You're in your workout stuff. not for me. But there was one other comment here from Cyrus, and I really like that. So he's talking about classifying saunas. He thinks of it more of how he chooses his coffee. You know, light to dark. You know, medium roast, and then you've got flavor notes. You know, perhaps the sauna spectrum could be more utility to social, and then a keyword. So you've got your light roast to dark roast, and then hey, is this trade free? Is this Ugandan? Is this Sumatra? You know, is this Colombian? You know, what do we got here? So I think there are going to be some keywords that could definitely help with search, you know, in what you're looking for in sauna. You know, are you looking for all those guided things? You know, those are all your buzzwords, you know, or are you looking for more features like, hey, I want to make sure that there's refreshments. I want to make sure that there's, you know, good relaxation. And I think there's more to come on that. You know, we talk about the ambassador program. We talk about our work with NAS all the time. Check out those organizations, people. And if you are, you know, interested in sauna, interested in spreading the good word in sauna, see how you can help out. These organizations would love a hand. You know, we're always looking for people to spread the word around here too. But Eero, Risto, I think you know, I think it's dinner time here at the Watcha household. But again, I am really looking forward to hitting the sauna here after I get back from a quick work trip. As you guys know, I got just hammered by a black widow spider, and I'm finally recovered and can sauna again. So I had a little bit of a sauna hiatus, but again, we're getting back out there. Nothing's going to keep me from the room other than doctor's orders. So, gentlemen, it's always a pleasure. Great speaking with you guys. Everybody in the audience, again, reach out to us. We love hearing from you. Share those sauna stories. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys. Good night. Bye now.